Hey y'all, this is aemok,
Madam Hexe,
and kayce.
and this is Trouble Comes in 3. This podcast covers scandalous topics such as communication, sexual health, ethical non-monogamy, as well as kink and leather lifestyle. If you are under 18, please leave us and check out scarletteen.com. For those over 18, welcome and let's get naughty.
Breakups happen. Whether you're a serial monogamist, whether you're a true monogamist, whether you're an ethical non-monogamist. Scheiße passiert. Shit happens. You break up, number of reasons. It could be just changes people. Someone could do something naughty. But they happen.
They do happen.
We're all survivors of these happenings, aren't we?
Yeah. So I think in modern culture, it's even more prominent that people are going through breakups. Because I know with my grandmother's time, she was with my grandfather for 60 years.
Yeah.
60 plus years.
Not socially acceptable.
It wasn't socially acceptable. And you weren't dating a lot of people before you found the one.
Right.
You might have been courted by a few people, but none of them were super serious. And
Going
then
steady.
Right.
Yeah. The one you're going to marry.
Yeah. You might have one or two people that you started going steady, but that you really saw more a little bit later, closer to when, before mom and things like that.
Right, and if you left your hometown, if you stayed in the hometown your whole life, you probably only had one person or maybe two. But if you some people went to university and, or come back from war or something like that and saw some more humans.
Right.
So, the concept of breaking up has definitely evolved over time.
Mm-hmm.
Serial monogamy became more of what people considered monogamy.
Right.
The fact that you're only dating one person at a time.
Right.
Never mind, it's a different girlfriend every week, but
That's fine.
one at a time.
One at a time. So I think it's good for us to talk about. So in our world, we have a lot of kind of Venn diagram of circles that overlap, right? So we have our personal vanilla or gregarious lives where, you might have boyfriends, girlfriends, them friends, sex buddies. I don't know. Could I say fuck buddy? I guess.
You can say fuck buddy.
Fuck buddy.
Everything
or
you say, you can say
lovers or, friends with benefits. You have all these kinds of humans in your life. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just have you. Maybe you're not into other people. That's cool too. So we have these kinds of breakups that have their own kind of connotation. There's emotional pain and turmoil. There's the loss of that sense of normalcy and pattern, especially if you cohabitate with these humans. And then also in our world, we could talk about dynamic breakups, which are more of that power exchange relationship, which may or may not have components of that first set. And then you get people like us who are not only doing these two things, but then are also doing it with multiple people at once.
Yeah. There's different levels of skiing. I've never actually been skiing of any sort.
But I will
water
still
or
listen to the analogy.
Yes. So I know nothing about skiing, but water skiing, snow skiing, I know it involves going in a direction.
Right.
There's different courses, and so there's the baby, the bunny slopes,
the bunny
slopes, and then there's the
Black
super
diamond.
crazy black diamond
one.
death.
I was like, you always think
we're at Black
with you.
Diamond.
Yeah,
This is expert level relationship navigation skills when you have a lot of these things going on.
it's just exponential.
That's a good word. Exponential is a good word because when you're seeing multiple people in any of these scenarios, it impacts the entire web when something goes wrong. If you're having an issue or you're breaking up, that impacts not just you and that one individual, but there's a ripple effect. And sometimes it can exponentially grow.
Yes.
And it may be the case that you do something and you get a reasonable reaction from somebody, but it affects your other partner, so now you're getting this one reasonable reaction from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many people you're involved with.
When it comes to polydynamics, I like to use exponential as opposed to multiplied because a lot of people dating more than one person or being in a relationship of some sort with more than one person, it's just the same problems but multiplied by that many.
Yeah.
It's not really because you have
Different
your
problems.
partner and then you have the different connections and dynamics in the sense not kinky dynamics,
Right,
though
yeah.
they could be, between those people. So my partners, if I if I lost one of them for whatever reason, we split up, that if they're also partnered with somebody else or just in general, those people have a connection as well, and it affects their relationship. That's why I like the exponential.
Yeah, it's good because like I've consoled partners that have broken up with another partner that I didn't have anything to do with, but I'm still feeling the impact of this gregarious partner losing someone they cared about for whatever reason. You know, so it impacts you even if you are not directly involved with the other person.
Oh gosh, you're looking at me.
Yes, we're gonna throw you under the bus. So you are the youngest.
I
No
am
secret
the youngest.
that you make us feel like old crones.
You're
It's fine. But even with your young age, you've had breakups.
I have. I've had multiple breakups.
The varieties.
I have varieties.
Talk us a little bit about some of the ones that maybe you learned the most from, because I think breakups teach us a lot about ourselves, what we do and do not want, and who we do and do not want to be.
Yes. So I've had kind of like three big breakups in my life that I would say have been like turning points. And so the first one would probably be four. So the first one would probably be my high school boyfriend who I was with 2 years, longest relationship. We dated my senior year of high school.
The first flame.
He decided that he wanted to go to college, live in a dorm, and he was very upfront with, I was like, well, why do you want to break up? Because he just brought it up, not like a, hey, I'm dumping you, but like, hey, I feel like we should maybe not date while I'm off at university. I was like, okay, but why? And he goes, honestly, I've lived in a Catholic household my whole life. I want to go to parties. I want to go experience
Let my hair down.
He wants to let his hair down, and he's like, I don't trust myself if I'm drunk not to cheat on you, and I don't want to put myself in a position to do that, but I still want to go to these parties. I was like, I have a very high level of respect for you being honest and being like, hey,
you're gonna get kudos to that person.
That directly, because there's a lot of people that are afraid to be that direct. And I admire that.
And that was his big thing. And at the time, I wasn't open to you going off and fucking people. At the time, we hadn't had sex yet, so I was like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Just know that I'm not going to wait around for you to go do that and then come back and be like, okay, but now we can go officially go steady.
I've had my like fluting spring, so I can come back to you now. Like the office, you know.
And so that was a big turning point, because that was kind of what taught me, okay, it's okay to have those honest conversations.
It's necessary to have those conversations.
I was upset because I was like, so I get it. I didn't fuck you, so you're going to go fuck other people. He's like, that's not what I said. I was like, okay. But so that had let me grow, and it let me kind of go out, focus on school, figure stuff out for myself. The second breakup was not my first D-type, but my second or third D-type, we were very, very heavily involved, thought we were going to go the long run. Things with his health and our timing, and him being a dad and having issues with his daughter's mother. Just all these things stacking up where it just wasn't working out for us. And it made me think, I don't know if I can't do it with him, I don't think I want to do it with anybody. As far as a dynamic goes, because we were going towards MS and like 24/7. And so I took a break from that and was like, maybe I'll just try vanilla dating, which led me to dating another partner briefly, about 4 or 5 months, not like a very substantial relationship. But turns out he had some kinks that he wanted to explore. I was like, well, fuck, I know the perfect place. Let's go. But he wasn't into the dynamic side of things, and that's when I realized I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody where it didn't have those flavors. At least not as my only relationship, which I found out later on. And so I guess
you live and learn.
Yeah, and so I guess that brings me to the fourth breakup, which is definitely going to be the most recent. So a few episodes ago, we talked about how I had initially dissolved my dynamic with my sir, who was all of our partners. And so it led down a road. We tried to make it work with just a vanilla relationship, and ultimately things happened, and we ended up stopping our relationship completely. And this was something that definitely threw me through loops, because we had just moved, so that was stressful.
Because you were cohabitating before.
We were cohabitating before.
But then you moved into the kind of polycule nest.
Yes. And so then we moved in with more members of our polycule. and ended up breaking up. And so it was stressful for me because I'm going from living with someone for the past 2 years, having this routine for the past 2 or 3 years, to not having it at all. And having that very abrupt cutoff of, I no longer sleep in a bed with somebody. That's a big thing for me because I'm like, oh no, I sleep like shit when I don't cuddle people. And so it led to things like that, but it also led to me focusing on myself more. I've had more time to devote to school,
Right.
which is something that I've always kind of thrown to the wayside for people. I've had more time to focus on myself and come to terms with different parts of my sexuality, with the fact that I might not actually be attracted to men. It might just be something that's been so ingrained in me from high school.
Compulsive heterosexuality.
Yeah, and so it's giving me time to kind of play around with things like that and figure myself out in a way that's, I've felt so much growth in the past 2 or 3 months than I have in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So,
But we're certainly proud of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys have played a big role in it. Both you and then both of your other partners have been such a large support system for me, which I think is really important when you're going through such a big life change.
Any kind of breakup, you need a support system. You know, whether that's biological family, whether that's chosen family, whether it's friends, whether it's metamors, whether it's a counselor of some kind. You know.
And honestly, this is the first breakup that I've had a support system to speak of, because I never really had a bunch of friends. I never really was close with my mom, like things like that. And so it's the first time I've actually had people be like, you can just feel, and then you can get your shit together and move on, and we'll be here for you. And I think that's why I've felt such a large change in myself, because I've had that room to grow with the support needed and the reminders of, should you really be doing that, or should you be doing something else right now?
It's helpful you live with
Yes.
a support system too. Yeah. So Max like, yeah, do your homework, eat your snacks.
My bed is just across the way, or you could knock and I can come to you.
Yeah.
We're across the hall.
Right. You have your snuggle buddy. If you can't sleep at night, you can just go.
And I don't
snuggle in
have my service dog of 10 years recently passed away, and she was my cuddle muffin. So
She's
you're
like,
lacking
I
a cuddle muffin. I am lacking of the cuddling because my new service dog is only 7 pounds.
Not as
And he's
cuddly as the bulldog.
Doing very well in his training. However, he doesn't give that like weighted
Yeah,
cuddle
like it's like
that-
a weighted blanket. That
Unless he
farts
jumps,
and snores.
and like sternum punches you, but
That's different.
That
That's a
is.
resuscitation technique. No?
Oh, Mom, your heart has issues. Come here. Thanks. I'm fine now.
yeah.
So, like you said, the person that you recently split with was something that both Madame Hexe and myself were involved with,
Yes.
though we were not in dynamics with that person.
Right.
I think it was interesting for me. So, the last polycule that I was a part of had a very different result.
Okay.
With us, we have been, the titties are out.
She's warm,
Sorry,
so Caitlin's getting
super
naked.
warm.
Patreon content.
Soon we'll be setting that up.
But soon. I joke, but soon.
So with our recent split, because we all did split with that individual.
Right.
It wasn't because, at least for myself, it wasn't necessarily because Kaitlyn split with him.
No.
It was...
I disagreed with the things that happened that caused her to split with him.
Which he did things that broke boundaries for myself, as well as the way he was handling the boundaries broken with other members of our family in our polycule. So I also split with him. Yeah. We all ended up doing it.
That, and I do want to say that one of the big things that got to me during that breakup was both of you in separate occasions, and I don't even think after talking to each other, were like, this is probably over for us. If you choose to stay with him, just let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, we're going, so you need to be out too.
Right, and we would have still remained close with you even if you had decided to stick around. I would have maybe been a little disappointed because you had set certain parameters for yourself and then you were caving in on those parameters, but at the end of the day, every relationship is unique in its tolerance level. So
yeah. And I cannot say that I have never been in a relationship where I let previous boundaries get not just smushed but trampled.
Right. We've all been there.
As the eldest member of The Trouble Comes in Three, as the crone, I am the crone. I'm settling into my cronish ways. I had actually, prior to our polycule, like, coming together, I had, like, was like...
Surrendered to crone life, I did.
I did. I was like...
Not that old. We joke, but you're not that old.
But I am. In the community and things like that, I am. And so, like, I was like, I got the spinster life, yo. It's great. And then I was like, oh, shit, now I have partners. What happened? I was not intending this. That was supposed to be, like, a quick fuck.
Like, those change of life babies that just, like, show up. You know?
Oh, God. At least it wasn't a baby. I could send this one on its way.
But you're saying your prior polycule, the results were very different.
So, with our recent split... we were all very supportive of each other.
Right. Yes.
We all had time to grieve however we needed to. We had support, or at least I felt we had support to do that, both within the polycule itself, but also with the, like, next level of our family.
Right.
Yeah.
People who are not involved in our polyamorous relationship, but who are involved in our chosen family in our life.
Yeah.
Previously, and what kind of sparked the... I don't know if I ever want to do this again, Spencer life for me, yo, moment. I was involved with a polycule. It was a quad.
Okay.
I was the sidecar. That was the joke. Like, but it was said as a joking way, like, oh, she's the sidecar to the quad, because the quad was...
Oh, it was a quad plus you.
Yeah.
Quad plus me.
Okay, I thought like you're part of the quad. It was one of the tires. Anyway, okay.
No, I was the sidecar.
I gotcha.
Because they had, or like, the spare tire on the back.
It's kind of cute because you're small, but it does kind of like, in the diminutive sense, it's cute, but also like it's a little dismissive.
Well, so what it was two married two couples, male female. They were not heterosexual, and I had been friends with them for years and years and years. I helped take care of kids and babysit their dog, like the whole thing, and then we started seeing each other, me and a couple of individuals within the humans, and I ended up moving in.
Right.
And it was great. Like, originally I moved in because there was some stuff going on at the place that I was living. I needed to move to another place.
Right.
So I did, and then it turned into, well, actually you just fit so well. You're already involved with us. Like, why don't we just make this permanent? So I did.
Reasonable.
It was wonderful. Like, I got to take care of, while I want no children of my own.
You like them.
I love taking care of other people's children. Like, auntie hardcore.
Right.
I did science experiments, the whole 9 yards. But when you add that extra layer, when things start to go south, they go real south real quick.
Yeah. Exponentially.
Yeah. I ended up, one of the members of the initial quad. So one of the 5 adults involved. Again, children not involved. They're just raised by 3 moms and 2 dads. Right. Like, they,
Ask your mother. Oh, dear.
Right. Which one? So the adults one of the 5 adults was upset about a situation. And instead of communicating or talking or trying to mediate anything, they started demanding, which did not go well. And it became a situation where it was becoming increasingly toxic. And no one else, because they all had marriage ties.
You were the old man out.
I was the scapegoat. So I ended up getting scapegoated for a lot of things, and people weren't willing to stand up and say, hey, no, that's actually not okay.
Or that's not what happened. Or...
Yeah. So at the end, I was like, I've got to go. This is not healthy for any of us.
Right.
It's not going to be healthy for any of us, because there was some substance abuse issues, specifically alcohol, and if you can't have a conversation sober, that's a serious problem for me. It's, we joke about having a glass of wine. Well, no, we don't joke. We have glasses of wine during this.
Right.
But we also have really
great times with nothing.
Yeah. 4th of July, we were together and we were having a family meeting, and there was no booze at all anywhere. Right. Like, we're having a serious conversation.
Right.
So it just became to the point where it wasn't going to be healthy, and I wasn't going to fight harder than other individuals.
No, you shouldn't.
And I was devastated because not only did I lose that individual as a partner, she used manipulation so that I lost all 4 of the individuals I was partnered with, because it was you either keep her or
you keep me.
You keep access to your child.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
That's what when you add children, it gets even more complicated. So that's that. We talk about Black Diamond. This is just jumping out of an airplane with no snowboard and no parachute.
It was really, really rough because I didn't want any of the kids to lose a parent.
No, absolutely not.
I didn't want any of the kids to... I did not want our breakup to negatively impact the children.
Of
They're
course
all very
not, because
young.
you cared about them.
I do. Even to this day, like, I haven't seen them in years.
But you weren't prepared to use them as a bargaining chip. You know what I mean?
So, nope.
They're not pawns, they're people.
And so it's a very different, like, I was at a polycule with people who were established. I mean, you were established with your partner significantly longer than I was with that partner. You were established with one of your partners. We both about the same with her partner. Seeing the support that can happen and how a breakup with an individual, either with one person or the whole polycule, can be supportive as opposed to one person gets scapegoated for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see and experience that. I mean, I've seen it with other people.
Yeah,
but you could experience it.
But I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
So it's been nice to have a situation where we communicate, we talk about it. We talked about how is this changing for us now that we don't have that individual.
Where do our relationship stands? Because I know at least like my relationship with both of you probably would not have happened had at least not at that level. Our friendships would.
It was initially based in that sense because that was kind of the connecting factor.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
But what happened is once we came together, each in our own way kind of developed relationships with one another, you know, as friends or as partners, whatever words you want to give it, you know, depending on how you like to define things. But those all happened organically, separately.
Yes.
But we still needed to take the initiative to say, we need to have a direct conversation about how this changes now that this other factor is no longer present in our lives. So... good for us. Good for us. Give us a pat on the back. That's
go us.
We learned from our own mistakes.
Ethical non-monogamy. We succeeded.
So what about you?
Oh, for a polycule breakup or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh, fuck off. Just in general. Let's do... so I had this was once when I had a monogamous relationship. It was the first American boy I dated. Fucking Philly. You guys beat up your trash. No, I'm kidding. That's not his name. He's from Philadelphia, so it's fine. Your sports teams suck. Actually, I just know that makes them mad. I don't actually know if they do or do not. Also, your mascot's very scary. What, you got a snoot or you want me to...
No, keep going.
And so we had a monogamous-based relationship. It was not super fulfilling for me, I guess. We didn't do a lot of kinky stuff. Like, he indulged me, I guess. Like, we would go to events that I wanted to go to, but there was really nothing between us. And even in the bedroom, it wasn't. It was vanilla kinky, you know what I mean? Like, little slapping, hair pulling, biting, you know, little dirty talks. In my sense, it's still quite vanilla sex. And the sex was good. It wasn't terrible, but it was lacking an aspect, and I wasn't able to fulfill this portion of my life, which had always been there. And I thought, well, let me try because I like him. He was emotionally very manipulative. I was with him a little over 2 years. And, you know, you should, like, looking back, you're like, wow, nobody liked him. That should have been a sign.
My ex-er.
Nobody liked him. That should have been, like, a sign. Like, no, you just don't know him. No, you just a dumb bitch, okay? Like, that's what I wish I could go back and tell myself sometimes. But there had been some fights and things like that. And, you know, I thought I should leave him. But we had actually planned a trip back to Europe. And I was like, well... I guess I could just not go. Anyway, I went, and long story short, I ended up breaking up with him in an orchard in France. So it was a very awkward plane ride home.
Yeah.
It was very awkward plane ride. Oh, very uncomfortable. Yeah, and then my sister picked us up at the airport in Orlando. She's got your trip, and I was like, oh, don't ask. Because I hadn't been able to get a hold, because I'm on the plane, and I sent her a message, and I was like, we broke up. And she's like, oh. Silent car ride home from Orlando. Oh my god, yeah. So that was pretty awful. But so I learned a couple things about myself. Yes, monogamy is definitely not for me. Tried it, didn't like it. That was actually my second monogamous relationship. And the other thing I learned is I am somebody that needs time after a relationship ends. I can't do the whole bounce, rebound thing. It doesn't work for me because you bound into the wrong arms. Essentially, that's what happened in that case. Because prior to him was the love of my life, my university boyfriend. Love him. And we just broke up because he had to go back home, went back to Saudi Arabia, and I couldn't go with him because I enjoy my human rights, even though they are not totally full in the US either. They're slightly fuller than in Saudi Arabia as a woman. So I couldn't go with him back to Saudi Arabia. And we actually never even said the words that this relationship is over. It was just like, okay, bye, I'll see you later. And then he left to get on the plane. So I was like...
It's like one of those Hallmark movies.
Yeah, and like every once in a while, like we chat a little on WhatsApp. Like like his mother was very sick, and so I would check on him. And, when my grandmother was passing, he would check on me and things like that. So, but... Yeah, I took him to the airport, and it was like, okay, bye. I gave him a kiss, and then he went through security and never saw him again. So then, like, maybe only less than 6 months later, I ended up with the next guy who was trash. So I learned that monogamy is not for me. I learned that I am somebody that, like, when it needs to be done, and I need a proper turnaround time to readjust myself and evaluate what went wrong in that relationship. Was something I did? Because sometimes you're the problem. Sometimes you're the problem, and this shit you need to work on. Or was it like, all right, well, why are you dating trash? And kind of like figuring it out. Did you just need to feel needed? Were you lonely? There's a number of reasons we get in relationships with people that we have no business getting in relationships with. But yeah, what? Tell me your snoot.
So your story reminded me of a story for me.
Oh, tell me.
Perfect.
So, I have been married and divorced.
Okay.
Will
that make you a spinster?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. You're currently unmarried, so I'm going to say yes.
That's why I said I was in that spinster life.
No, but I meant, I thought that was just if you've never got married.
I think if
you
never
turned 30 and you're like, never got married.
Well, I mean, I got divorced by 30, so...
I'm going to go with... I'll give it that to you still.
Yeah.
Spinster.
Either way, I'm still the crow.
Thornback.
I'm still the crow.
Thornback, I like that one.
Yes, Thornback.
Yeah.
So we were together a total of like 9 years. We like dated for a year, broke up for 3.
This is the chef husband, right?
This is I've only been married once.
You only been married once, okay.
He was a chef. So we dated for like a year. My mother hated him. Mostly because like he's kind of hippie and like I don't think she was as open-minded as she thought she was at the time.
Right.
But then we ended up getting back together 3 years later. It's what brought me to Tampa.
Perfect.
So you got married and divorced and got back together?
No,
or
we dated.
You dated and broke
up.
Okay.
Came back together like 3 years later.
I gotcha.
We got back together. I moved to Tampa because he was down here.
Okay.
Perfect.
Which is
Thanks.
He
Thanks,
actually,
Paul.
I think, listens.
Perfect.
But
I won't say your name, but thanks.
Right.
So we were together for like 7 years before we got married.
Sure.
We were engaged the majority of that time. We just kept
That's a lengthy.
putting it off because finances. We were both young and in college and the whole thing.
It's a good time to figure out if you still really want to do that as well.
But we didn't take the like history lesson of our relationship and like, because he's very sweet.
Right.
I actually am still friends with him. We chat a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
Facebook friend, like we've
Yeah.
had that. Like, is it too soon to Facebook friend my ex-husband?
Right.
No.
If it was, you wouldn't be asking.
Right. And he like when my grandpa was dying last year, he was, how is everyone? How is grandma?
Right.
He's still considered an uncle to my niece. Like that is her Uncle Andy for forever.
Right.
We were great friends, amazing friends. We were not good married or like in a super committed, because
I've had a friend like that.
Yeah.
Like I've had a friend with benefits like that. It's like, no.
we both had, like, I totally admit I had undiagnosed borderline personality disorder. I was told I was bipolar and was being treated, but the medications that treat bipolar actually agitate borderline, and so I was misdiagnosed and I was worse for a lot of it. Our initial, like, the year or so after was real fucking rough.
Yeah. After the marriage?
After the marriage.
Okay.
After the marriage. Like, so I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, God. But you're like, oh, fuck, we've only been married a year. Do it.
Right.
Yeah. We were only married for a year and a half, technically. Like, the actual dates on the thing.
Right.
We lived together for 9 years. We were engaged for 7. We were dating the whole time. Like, it was a very long, extended...
It's a long relationship. It was a
very...
decade. I mean...
Yeah. Super sweet. Once we were past that year of insanity, and he moved to Chicago and I stayed in Tampa, life got much better.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I finally found a therapist who was like, actually, you're borderline, not bipolar. Those meds are making you crazy. Let's change that.
Thanks.
I've been saying this for forever.
But I thought I was crazy, so who's going to listen to me?
The doctor just kept giving me other meds that did not work. But shortly after that relationship, like within a year, I ended up with my first like relationship formally in the lifestyle.
Okay.
It was definitely a bounce back. I was craving structure and the DS and really intricate rope play and things like that. And this individual presented those things to me.
Right.
I ignored all of my friends who warned me.
Right. As we do.
And ended up in a 3-year relationship that just was really unhealthy, and I couldn't see how impactful it was until I was out of the relationship for a year and a half.
Oh, it always looks very clear when you look back, doesn't it, though?
Hindsight's 2020, or so I've heard.
Right. Of course, now when we say hindsight 2020, we're only going to remember the year of the pandemic
Oh,
and
no.
that the Earth ended.
Thought the 20s were going to be a blast. This
Right.
wasn't what I thought.
No.
What you got on your snoot?
No, I was just listening to both of you talk. I don't know that I've ever had a bounce back.
But you've gone from relationship to relationship to relationship.
To a degree, but not...
Be honest.
I am being honest.
She's also
With the
very
exception-
young.
Yeah, with the exception of already having started conversations or like
But you're under
being in
25 and
relationships.
you've been in 4 or 5 relationships
She's
already.
not 25.
I said she's under 25.
Oh, I thought she...
No, she's
she's not 25.
25
Yes,
and already
but
been in 5
also a lot of
relationships or
those
so.
relationships haven't been longer than 3 or 4 months, and so
To me, that's pretty bouncy.
Yeah,
mean-
that would be bouncy.
Probably bouncy.
I guess in
keep
that
going,
sense.
keep-
No,
follow the
just
thought,
because so most of my relationships, like my high school boyfriend, I wasn't with someone else for probably 7 or 8 months, which was probably the closest thing to like taking the time. Why are you giving me that face?
I had like 3 years between relationships.
No, and I get that, but I'm in the sense of
If it's
like,
under a year, I consider it a bounce personally. I mean, it wasn't 2 weeks, but go ahead, finish your
well,
story.
so and my thing though is, but you also had longer term relationships than I had. For me, waiting 7 months or waiting 4 months for a relationship that was only 3 months didn't seem like a balance, because how important were they really? The like one that hit me the hardest, and I guess that's why we consider my first like real like emotionally involved relationship, was the dynamic that ended just because things weren't working out, and I didn't see anyone for a year and a half after that, and we were only together 6 months.
So we've had a very long discussion about our history of breakups. Let's talk about some things that, like, do's and don'ts that we've learned through our experiences.
All right. Do you want to start?
Because I'm the crone.
Well, no, because it was your idea.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was your idea.
I thought you were going to cheers me from the other side.
I mean, I can.
We can cheers,
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers.
breaking up and how to do it.
Or how not to.
Or how not to.
So I think that it's really important when you're splitting up, regardless if it's in a monogamous relationship or a ethically non-monogamous polyamorous relationship, is how you vent to the people around you.
Yes.
The one partner that I was with for 3 years who was really, really unhealthy, actually we were in a DS relationship, said that I was not allowed to speak to my other partners about our dynamic or our relationship or anything that was going on.
Was it like a rule?
It was yes, it was a DS rule.
Oh, okay.
Like, you are not allowed to. Period.
Because I don't want them to know I'm crap.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Like, he has a clause in his contract that conversations with Madam are considered sacred, but that doesn't mean if he's he feels something is off, that he's not allowed to ask somebody else a second opinion.
Right.
Just don't air our dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Well, and
like there's a line.
right.
Yeah.
And it was basically because there were 2 other individuals who I also had a very light DS structure with. That was a couple. And he was like, no, you can't talk to them. I don't think that was healthy.
No.
Giant red flags. There's a
no
difference
outlet.
between going and just like venting on the internet and airing your dirty laundry for everybody to see.
Yeah.
And going to someone that you trust
With a valid concern.
to talk about it. Sometimes that is just venting. You know, I am really, really annoyed that I've had to talk to somebody 5 times about the dishes.
Right.
What am I gonna do?
Right.
And getting feedback. At the same time, we have to be careful about not triangulating with our partners or with our friends.
Yeah.
If you have a shared partner or a shared friend with the person, you can't, making them choose sides. Going to them and complaining and being like, well, aren't you going to do something about it? Like, no, that's
Not my role.
Yeah.
I'm here to be supportive for you, but I don't get to make that kind of decision in your life, in your relationship.
And it can be hard when you have an intertwined polycule.
Right.
Because those people aren't just also your partners. Some of them are also their partners. And it can become, they're being pulled in every direction.
Yeah.
So be very, very mindful about who and what you're using as a support, as like a bouncing board on like your thoughts.
Right.
That, and there's definitely a separation between venting to shared partners and working to make a change or implementing suggestions they may have given you, and venting to them over and over and over again about that same thing, which turns into just you
Poisoning them
Yeah.
against somebody for, no reason.
Yeah, and so I think that's something that you have to be really careful of, because it's easy to just have that alone time and spend all of that alone time with that shared partner bitching about the other partner, but at what point are you no longer really making the effort to make anything change about what you're complaining about?
And that goes back to you might be the problem.
Exactly.
Or might be adding to the problem,
So with my BPD, one of the things that's very, very common for people who have borderline personality is what's called splitting. And it's basically we put somebody up on a pedestal and then they fuck up and they are the worst piece of shit. That fuck up happens so quickly, it's like a light switch going on and off.
Right.
Because I know that I am prone to that kind of thinking, one of the techniques that I do when I'm talking to other people or when I'm like bitching about it in my head is that I'll bitch, but then I try to identify something they've done really well.
Okay. To try to see like, all right, is this rectifiable or am I splitting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a self-check you do.
Yep. And it's like, I can be upset about A, but they did do B really, really well, and that was meaningful.
Right.
Now, that's not always going to balance out.
No.
Sometimes
You've just gone too far.
Sometimes you're just like, oh
Right.
no. But if it's somebody who I don't think it's a pattern of abuse or manipulation or something else like that, I can use that to kind of help myself from just completely discarding them.
Right.
Which is what can happen is I just become completely like,
Nope,
bleh,
don't want this.
Disconnected. Yeah. Don't want that anymore.
yeah.
Dry my hands.
I mean, I spend most of my time enjoying the glitter gutter. But I will knock you into it and so far down the line that I don't even see you.
Right.
So that's one way that I do that. And it's also my way of making sure that when I'm talking to, like, my other partners, when I'm talking to my partners about other people in our polycule or our family, I'm like, oh my God, he's driving me crazy. I say he because it's uneven. There are more boys in our group than it's not just the boys.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the girls.
Yeah, sometimes it's the girls.
But it's, Kaitlyn is driving me crazy. She won't stop scratching her chest no matter what we do.
Oh my God.
She, we smack her, we don't smack her, nothing is helping.
Oven mitts, maybe?
Oven mitts might be a great idea for her one of these times. Oven mitts with Tabasco sauce.
There you go. I was just going to
So she starts,
on so she can just get stuck. Anyway.
I mean, I'm into chemical play, so
Right.
joke's on
True.
you.
Mittens it is. Mittens it is.
But then I would say, just really driving me crazy about this, period. Because I don't like the but thing, because that negates it.
That's
End of
my
sentence.
That's my thought.
Also, she was really fun the other night. She watched movies with me and we colored. And it was awesome.
I have seen that pattern with you. I have seen that pattern.
Because I want to make sure that when I'm talking to people that I'm involved with, that I'm not only giving the negative. Like, I also see the good that that person is also doing.
Right. I think it's good. I think it's a good technique for anybody, not just, people with a borderline. I think it's good for everybody to be like, all right, is this really a problem or am I just finicky today?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just finicky today.
Mm-hmm. How active is my anxiety-based OCD has a huge difference on whether it's going to drive me bananas or I'm just barely going to notice it. Right. Depending on how. So it's that balancing act of all of those things.
Right. I can relate to that.
Another tip?
Kaitlyn's tip?
Oh gosh, I don't have one yet.
You had all that time. You didn't think of
I put my 2 cents in on that one.
Well, all right. You think of something.
Okay.
I'll
work on it.
I am a German, and I'm very direct by nature. This is just culturally, that's how it's done. However, I have noticed, particularly with American partners, it sometimes comes off as aggressive.
Mostly because you're a woman.
Yes. So I'm
if your penis was attached,
right, I would just be assertive and commanding as opposed to an aggressive bitch. But that's whatever. But I have noticed, more so with male partners, that they find it, and probably for those reasons exactly, they find it to be aggressive, or they find me to be frigid because I will, this is what's bothering me, XYZ, bullet list, there it is. And not really be upset because I've already done that bit in my head. And I'm like, okay, I'm mad or upset or whatever. Here's my list. Here's how to fix it. Here's how to do. And it sometimes comes off as either aggressive or frigid in some cases. Like, there's not a lot of emotion, things like that. I suffer from an obsessive-compulsive disorder, and organizing things into lists is very helpful for me. It's very therapeutic. If I don't write it down, it's not important. So if someone says, meet me here, and I don't write it down, I am not meeting you, just so we're clear.
Noted.
I write things down, neurotically, in the calendar, whatever. So I literally will organize my thoughts in lists, and I have a partner that is
terrified.
semi-joking, but not semi-joking when he sees a list in my hand, because he's like, historically, when you've written things down, it doesn't end well for me. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I told him, paragraphs are bad, lists, okay, I'm just organizing my thoughts. But if I took the time to write out my script, yeah, buckle up, sweetheart. So I make lists. But with that in mind, not everyone I'm involved with, whether it is in the, emotional, romantic sense or whatever, as well as my DS and extended leather family, not everyone is that direct. Some people that I'm involved with aren't able to respond positively or well at all to that kind of direct verbal confrontation. Some of them prefer to write it down. This is, I would love to have this face-to-face conversation, but some people, it's hard to make the words, so they have to do it over text message. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I have to be okay to acknowledge those. If I'm going to end a relationship, my preference is to do it face-to-face, because I feel like the people I'm with deserve that. Even if it's difficult for them to see me in that moment, or it's difficult for me to see them in that moment, the value is there. That person was a part of my life, whether it was brief. You know what? People I don't like, I have never truly ghosted somebody before. I hate it when it happens to me and other people. And it's something that's like, even if you were crap to me, even if you did something to me, I'm going to give the credence, not really for you, but for me, to say, this is over. And then make my way in the world and have a bottle of wine. No, I'm just kidding. Probably like smash a car. Not his car. So don't smash cars, just peel off the registration sticker. It's not a crime.
I think it is.
It's not a crime, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Smashing cars is a crime.
Smashing cars is a crime. Please don't do that. So you brought up different people's responses, how they... I am someone that I overthink things, and my brain will like overwhelm itself and then shut down.
Which overheating like a computer.
Yeah,
like the old computers, blue screen of death.
Yeah, it's a teal screen of death in my case. It's just not happening. And so one of the things that I learned with my therapist was it's okay. A lot of people think you have to fight until it, like you have to have the argument, the discussion, the fight, whatever, until it is resolved. I overwhelm very quickly, and I will eventually lose what I'm actually upset about, and now I'm just upset because I'm upset, which is not productive.
Resolution doesn't have to be one go.
No.
It may be multiple mini conversations.
I recently had a tiff with someone that I was tired, I had a migraine, it was late at night, I was kind of slightly blindsided by it. I was like, I can't. Nope. We started, and I was like, voices started being raised. I was like, nope, we have to stop tonight. We can talk about this tomorrow, but I am noticing this with you. We need to pick this up tomorrow.
Yeah, pinning it.
Yep. I wasn't sure because it was like my first big tiff with this individual. And he wrote me a message about, like, the situation. And I was like, okay. And then I wrote him up because, again, like, I can process my words.
Yep.
Oh, in the writing. And then I sent them back to him and, like, we're good now.
Right.
Because we
were
were
able to process.
It was that in the minute, it was late. We were probably both tired and irritable. And at least one of us had a migraine. So we weren't able to... communicate effectively. Yeah. Not properly, but effectively. But that pause button is nice. The trick is you can't pause and never come back to it.
Pause forever.
Right.
You have to pause with the intention of, I said, we need to stop this tonight because of A, B, C, D. We can pick this up tomorrow.
Right.
I gave a specific time.
Right.
Yep.
If you're just like, this conversation needs to stop, and there's no follow-up to actually finish processing the conversation, then... when you do that, you have no intentions on actually trying to resolve the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah. For me, I'm a writer. I don't do well with verbal confrontation. I can handle it as long as it's not raised voices. I can handle someone talking to me, but I can't always process the words I want to say back.
I hate when you get so mad you start crying. You're like, I'm just mad and I have to cry.
Oh, I'm an instant cry.
And
generally it's because it's like, oh God, I fucked up. What have I done? I'm so mad at myself type deal. Right. And so I write. And so that gives me time to process and get all the things out. And sometimes I write and I can then have the conversation because all the initial things are back. Sometimes I write and I'm like, okay, you just have to read this because I can't. Depending on how...
I can't read it to you.
Depending on what the conversation is about, yeah. So.
What's your breakup tip?
Oh, God.
Either something that you think makes breaking up effective, or even on the flip side, maybe something that you've experienced that was like, I would have handled it differently if I could do it again, or this is how that partner handled it and I think that they could have done better.
For me, one of the don'ts, I think, is when it comes to breaking up, it's not a blame game.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, whether it's mutual or you're the one initiating the breakup, you have gone through all of the options and decided that is the path you want to take. Mm-hmm. It's not I'm going to say I'm breaking up with them and they're going to beg for me and then it'll get back. That's manipulation,
right?
But it's something where you decide that, okay, this is just the end of this path. This is what I'm doing. Don't use it as I completely lost my train of thought.
Remember when you left the eggs in the pan 8 months ago?
Right.
Like, none of that shit. Let it go. You're breaking up. What do you care?
Right. It's it's obviously for a specific reason, or it could be just hey, things aren't really working out anymore, but let it be that. Don't turn it into your chance for some big fight or your chance for some big hiya.
Yeah. So we have beat to death, I think, the horse of relationships in the traditional and slightly non-traditional sense.
The vanilla-esque.
Right. Let's refocus to the other fun part of this podcast. This is actually a BDSM podcast after all. Let's talk about breaking up real quick in power exchanges. And for the sake of simplicity, we know that polyamory in general exponentially increases any kind of result. So let's talk about, for instance, in simplicity forms, a DS dynamic or MS dynamic, and take out for now the variables of like in our case, we have polyamorous and multiple dynamics going on. But let's take out that duplicity for now, shall we? Are you pointing me for an example? The cute example or the shit one? The cute one, I guess I had a shit example earlier. I had a kitten and we were together maybe 2 years. Sorry, girl. It's a little fuzzy, but she had... her marriage broke down. Mm-hmm. And so she was getting a divorce, and, you know, she had, like you, had been putting off school because she was taking care of her ex-husband and husband at the time, but now ex-husband, you know, and prioritizing him working multiple jobs because he couldn't keep one, you know, that whole song and dance. And she had an opportunity to move in with somebody who offered to take care of her and kind of host her, and she could move in with them and finish her schooling and get her life on track like she wanted to. That did, however, mean that I felt she did not have the time to continue our dynamic. Our dynamic did run full time. Its level of intensity was not like my boys and I's, because it was 24/7, but wasn't at that intensity. There was something she was interested in working towards. Yeah. But the way the cards fell, it just wasn't going to happen. So we had several conversations together about her priority for the time being needed to be her. I needed her priority to be her. And that meant that we had to bring that dynamic to an end, because that would free up a lot of her mental space for schooling. You know, she had to move, she had to start a new life. And so that was hard. And it's hard to fall out of habits too, because it was, neither of us really wanted it to end, but it needed to in order for her to get where she needed to be. And that, for me, because I love her, was way more important to get her to where she needed to be than for us to limp on and eventually end up like resenting one another, or it just kind of fizzling out, which is arguably worse. Where it just dies, you know. And so, and we're still very, very close, you know what I mean? And she's only a few hours away, but it was hard. But we kept the lines of communication open. You know what I mean? It took, I almost say, a couple months for her to get out of the habit of when she would text me good morning. Absolutely. To just say good morning, as in, instead of like, good morning, ma'am. You know? And she would do it and instantly reply, shit, I messed it up again. And I'm sorry. Because it's hurtful, you know, for me to hear it, because it's like this thing that I've given up or lost, essentially. And for her, it's this thing that she no longer gets to do. And it's hard. But in that case, it was a mutual separation, but... by design, but not by desire. And my advice to that would just be, if you're going to come back together at some point, you will. Yeah. But you can't force things like that.
I think people a lot of times forget that it's not just like catastrophes that end relationships. Right. Sometimes it's medical stuff. Sometimes it's like bio-family stuff. Sometimes it's locational or time. What about you?
So for me, I've had a what would be considered a good separation from a DS dynamic, which is the one I mentioned earlier, of my partner who just, between the time and his family and his health, it wasn't in my best interest for us to keep going together, because
he couldn't give you what you needed.
He couldn't give me what I needed, despite the fact I wanted to give him everything he needed. And so it was difficult. It was kind of the same thing. Like, it took time to fall out of the daily habits and the rules and the messaging him when I was leaving somewhere and arriving somewhere. Like, those things, it took time, and he was very helpful in acknowledging that it was going to be a transition for me back into not doing those things, especially because we decided to continue our friendship. We did end up not talking for about 6 to 7 months, but
it's heal time.
Yeah, but we still consistently talk randomly. And then I've had a not so fun one, which it was coming towards, it had been dead for a while. It was kind of those things where like you try so hard and it dies and you don't want to accept that it's dead on their end.
Just keep beating that dead horse.
Yeah. And I did so for about a year, honestly. And finally it came to the point where I was starting to resent him, and he ended up calling it and bringing that conversation up. I was within like a week or two of doing it, or actually I was going to do it that night, and he actually brought it up first.
Wait to do it.
Right. I got all brave. I was like, I'm going to do it. And he was like, hey, we need to talk about this. I was like, okay, cool. You first. And
Well done.
And he brought it up, and he's like, I just feel like you're always mad at me in this regard. I was like, honestly, yeah, no, you're not wrong. I kind of am, because it was something where promises kept being made and made and made, but nothing ever changed.
It was one of those examples, I think, from the outside looking in, was a bit like, you guys were really mix-matched on
Groundwork
what you wanted
levels.
and what you were willing to put in.
And what you were able
to put in. And it was kind of one of those things where, like, in the wooing stage, it was like, yes, it's all exciting, and I want to be with you, and I want to do all these things, and all those things sound super fun and sexy, but all the
none
things
of them
you want
ever
actually
come.
are a lot of work.
Yes.
And I think that was the key missing there. So.
Yeah. And so it ultimately did dissolve.
Right.
And it was, for me, it was a relief. For him, I think it was more of the beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end, yeah.
I think once he no longer had that with me, he kind of was grasping for straws. He didn't necessarily want that vanilla relationship side of it that I was willing to try to work out.
Right.
And
he wanted to still have control in it.
Yes.
Right.
But
he wanted the control without the
responsibility.
Yeah, the responsibility, right?
Oh. So
that didn't work out too well. But.
no.
Oh well.
Better for it.
Right, you're thriving now, and I think the important thing is, for the most part, relationships are survivable. You always come out different. You come out changed.
Mm-hmm.
We always learn lessons, and I think it's important just to keep moving. Just to keep moving forward. And another piece of advice I would say is, don't allow the negative things that happen to you in prior relationships to be clouds for your future relationships. Look, we all do it. We are all guilty. We will 100% put the expectations of the shit that happened to us prior on the people that we're looking at. We will do it in a way so that, I don't want to get too involved with them because they'll just leave me, or they'll get bored with me, or they're lying to me, or they don't really want me. We will tell ourselves all of the lies, but we need to try to not do that as best we can.
So within the community, that has an extra flip on it, because you have the fear of starting a dynamic with somebody else, especially if you've had relationships or something like that.
Yeah, because everyone's seen.
Yep.
Right. But I've seen, I've been it. I was in a relationship with somebody who was, when we first started together, well-known, somewhat respected.
Right. Air quotes.
Depending on who you talk to.
Right.
Over time, I had been involved in the kink community on and off for the decade before.
Right.
But I hadn't been too involved in the Tampa local community.
Right.
I had been involved in the Orlando community. I had been online, like, privately in the kink scene, but I hadn't been part of, like, this grand bubble of awesome kinkiness that we have here.
Right.
So while I was with this potential partner, I wasn't a dynamic. I was his submissive, though it ran probably closer to a MS than to DS.
Okay.
But only in me.
Only
It was the same kind of, they want all of the perks
without the work.
They don't actually want to have to, like, put the work in for it.
So we just run that shit for them.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
So much work.
And
It's a lot of work, guys. I love it, but I'm a German workaholic. It is fun and sexy, but it is not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Please stop trying to be what you're not. It's okay.
So during our time together, I had started making a name for myself as well.
Right.
I continued and intensified my training in rope, rope bondage of all kinds of types. I started making connections and going to cons and working at cons and teaching at cons in a lot of different areas. And when multiple times throughout the relationship, I was like, no, like something's got to change. I'm just not being fulfilled.
Right.
But I wanted to be like the best submissive ever.
The perfect slave.
I would, like.
We joke, but like that's a goal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like,
it's
I
your
want-
vision in your head.
Yeah, I want to be the best girl I possibly... even now, I want to be the best girl I possibly can be.
That's the difference, right? The best you can be as opposed to
Perfect.
Yeah?
Right. And I will say I have a huge kink for paperwork. I love contracts are sexy. Negotiations written down are sexy.
Right.
They make me wet. Our therapist...
I was sending her my packing list earlier just so she could see it.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. My therapist at the time, who he knew as well, recommended that we write our contract down. And I was like, absolutely, I'm all in. Let's do this thing. And one of the things that we included in our contracts from the beginning was an exit clause.
Right.
How do we handle it when it's done?
Right. Because at some point it might be.
Right. And it might not be the top calling it.
Exactly.
It might be the bottom calling it.
I have two. Well, if I'm done and if he's done, there's two separate entries.
Yeah. So, having that in there. So when I had finally gotten to like the last of the last straws, because there was a lot of them, I knew I had a plan on how to leave the relationship. Now, the day after I left the relationship, he tried to wake me up to get his lunch made. Because we still lived together. We owned a house together. And I was like, not my job. And that happened for multiple days on end until he figured out that
it's not my job.
He somehow thought that even though our DS had ended,
still do the things.
that I would still do things like make his lunch every day and feed him. And I was like, no. Because when we split, we made the decision that it was also going to be our vanilla life, like our day-to-day intertwined life as well. Well, then comes going to events. The spring con season starts up. We both teach places or have taught places. We're both in bondage.
Gonna see each other.
We're gonna see each other. And so I had to like dig deep and figure out, could I handle seeing him? Now, if it was a regular breakup, it would be a little less. Our breakup did involve a third human who was kind of weaponized at me as well. So it made it very hard to be in a shared space with the two of them because it was basically
2-on-1.
Right. It was basically, I can give this person all of the things you wanted all of this time that I could never give you.
Yeah.
And that was hard.
Yeah.
But I decided that yes, it's hard. Yes, it sucks. Yes, he's a giant douchebag. I love rope. And I love my rope community.
And I'll be damned if you keep me from it.
And I'm not going to stop going to rope things just because
you're going to be there.
You're going to be there. I'm not going to stop going to rope things just because you're going to make it awkward for me. It's not awkward for me.
It's only awkward if you make it, and I don't care what you think right now. So
yeah.
Right.
And you know what? It was not always easy. There were days that I wanted to cry. And I was so upset.
I will cry in my car, goddammit.
I will. The stubborn streak in
on the
me,
way there and on the way home, but not there, damn it. No.
Yep. Nope. Not going to let you see me shed a tear.
Hell no.
And I will say, even throughout, I would say the first 6 months were the hardest because mostly because that was like a con season. So it was like
go. Yeah.
Event after event. So it was spring con, and so it was like 4 months.
Yeah.
Of the spring con season, which is all the time, where I was just constantly inundated.
Yeah.
And there were multiple times I was ready to pack it all up and say, fuck it, like throw away my rope, throw away all my stuff, just be like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this.
Right.
I'm not good enough to do this anymore.
But then your rope was like, I miss you, girl.
Right.
Don't leave me. And you're like, I love you, baby. I won't leave you.
And my rope community was like, nah, fuck him.
Right.
Like, or why aren't you at this event? You need to come see us.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
Naughty
okay.
life. Naughty life.
Right.
So I think when a split happens, now for the year after, people would ask me, oh, where's your sir? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd have to be like, oh, we're not together anymore.
Right.
I got that question a lot.
And you got to be ready for that question. You know it's coming, especially in a community like that, where it's important. Be like, if I saw somebody's submissive, oh, is your other half here? You know, that's the polite thing to do. It's normally not done maliciously. It's not, especially
right.
like, and especially if we're not, like, if we weren't friends and I only saw you at events.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to ask. You know, I've done that to people and I'm like, ooh, touchy subject. You broke up yesterday? Ooh, my bad. I didn't know.
Let me run the other way.
And the thing was that I am going to very public events. Right. I'm performing, I'm teaching, I'm going to things. I didn't go around and badmouth that person.
No, because I'm not here for them. I'm here for me.
Right. And so it meant that I wasn't throwing it out there constantly. Oh, he's a terrible person. He did this. He did that. Yeah. I acknowledge I also had part in the breakup. Like,
it's nobody's business. My opinion is we're no longer together.
Yes.
Period. You don't need to know why.
And that's all I would tell people.
Why? Yes, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yes.
We were incompatible is what I would tell people.
Yeah. We changed. We grew. We're incompatible.
Exactly. But you have to be the adult. If you want to, all it made, because he did run his mouth, what ended up happening was...
He looked like a fool.
He looked like a fool, and I just continued with the integrity that I already had.
Yes.
Right. So if he's saying that you're crazy and acting crazy and you're a terrible person and the way you're behaving is not reflective of that, people obviously know then that he's full of shit.
Exactly.
And for me, that's enough. Like, my actions will speak for me.
Exactly.
I will defend myself if I hear untruths, but I don't have a necessity to dig up my history.
Yeah.
I'm just not. No. Mm-mm. All right, Snoot.
Okay.
She has all the ideas now.
But first, is there any champagne?
There is.
Oh, good for us.
So speaking of that, that is one.
You don't have to finish. Calm down.
That is one thing I'm not necessarily looking.
Okay, that's fine. Don't rush. We have a whole bottle of wine that the boy picked up.
The timing of my most recent breakup was that it's happened during all of COVID, which means there is no con season this year. All of the cons have been canceled. And so it kind of gives me that cushion of not having to do that face-to-face.
The public stuff.
Oh, where's your sir? Oh, where's your counterpart? I've had a few of it in like Zoom calls for like community things, but but nothing like overwhelming. But it's a big thing because him and I were both super active together. We ran dungeons for events together. We DM'd in security.
Yeah, people knew you two.
People knew us. We
you
were
did most of the running.
We were always seen as that pair. It was rare for me to be at an event without him unless it was an out-of-state event.
Right.
And so...
It was always Kaitlyn and her sir. It was never just you. I mean, it was, but... You know.
And so it's one of those things where I'm partially not looking forward to going back, but at the same time, same thing. The people that have us, it's been... We didn't work out on our wants and needs. Mm-hmm. And it can be as simple as that. But it has led for an interesting transition for me because, and so this is kind of like where my brain was going earlier when I was like, well, I don't really jump and I don't necessarily know if I'd consider it jumping because, so there was, when our dynamic was going downhill, there was already this kind of start to transition into the possibility of me taking on or starting to explore the ideas of another DS. And so there was things being put in motion. Conversations had already been had about it. It wasn't like it was to blindside him or replace him. He was in on the conversations. He approved the idea of it. And so for me, that added kind of a different level of insecurity, but also relief with the end of our dynamic, but also the end of our relationship, because I did have those things to fall back on and something to work towards. I didn't have that, well, let me just fall into this pit of utter despair, because what good am I to building myself for a future dynamic if I'm just a wallowing mess in the corner for X many months? And so it kind of gave an anxiety around it all, though, because it's like, well, this obviously didn't work, and they know that this didn't work. And so how am I supposed to prove that I can be a good submissive if I couldn't even be a submissive then?
Your actions speak louder than your words, and you are an excellent submissive.
They're done.
But it kind of falls into what you were saying earlier. And one of the quotes that I found after the breakup that, like, I was like, oh, let me just go cry in the corner because this is exactly what I'm feeling, and I don't want to accept it. You're not afraid of new love. You're afraid of old pain.
Right.
Aww.
Right.
Yeah. So.
You're masochist. What are you afraid of?
Not that.
It's like, not that kind of pain.
Can I read now on that?
Can I read now
for
on that?
future instances?
Yes. But I think you're somebody that does thrive on structure. And in this example, it's not that you were not a bad submissive. You were mismatched in partner. You know what I mean? Like, a knife is a high-quality tool, but it's not such a great hammer. You know what I mean? Like, it's not doing the job it's designed to do. Exactly. Of course it's going to look like a failure. If you ask a fish how well it climbs a tree, it's going to go, ooh. If fish could speak, I guess.
And I will say, when it came to the public presentation of the relationship, if you didn't know what was happening on the back end, it looked like that DS was pristine.
Yeah. You presented... You did him a great service by running that beautifully. Nobody would have known. Now, I know it gave you serious imposter syndrome because you knew, but nobody else could tell that there was any kind of problem. And I think that speaks very well to you as well.
Yeah.
Even if you guys had been actively working on your issues.
Let me
rephrase that. If he had been working with you on the issues as opposed to you just trying to fix them on your own, because that's not how they work, still, nobody would have known that there was any kind of problem. And that's the way you should present it. You know what I mean? Like, your problems you're fixing internally. And it goes back to what Aemok said earlier about not bad-mouthing and when things go wrong. You govern yourself with the grace that you had originally, and that's all you can do.
Limit the vague booking.
Yes.
Oh, because the thing is, everyone knows what the fuck that's all about.
Right. Stop that, you attention whore. It was a generalization.
Just post your butt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good.
If you're gonna show your ass, show your actual ass.
There you go. There's the attention I'm gonna give you. Oh, what a nice behind. Good for you. You know, maybe break with you.
Okay. And I think with that, one of the things that we've mentioned in several of our episodes is everything is not meant to last forever. People come into your life for either a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and we have to acknowledge that whether you're in a monogamous relationship, a serial monogamous relationship, an ethical non-monogamous relationship, a DS relationship, people are going to grow. If the relationship is running right, people are going to grow, people are going to evolve, and sometimes it's in the same direction, sometimes it's together, sometimes it's apart, sometimes it's parallel, and you have to be willing to accept the time you have with that person for the time you have with that person, but also accept that there could come a time where either you're going to go different ways and not be together, or you're going to go different directions and no longer be in a dynamic, but be in a vanilla relationship, and be okay with accepting those changes and not making it this catastrophic event that it doesn't have to be if everyone's in the relationships acting ethically.
Right. So get out there, kids. Have fun. Get messy. Fuck it up and try again. And remember,
trouble comes in 3.
And get fucked.
We did it.